Hello, welcome to the Security Update with me, Hamse Daabjeerin. In this program, we will be covering for you the latest stories that matter security in the African countries from West to Horn of Africa. Ahead on the program, Tigray police temporarily banned rickshaws from operating in the evening. Tigray rebels fought to continue fight despite ceasefire. Somalia government deploys military in Whistle town over security threat. Woodland forces execute 18 people convicted of murder in Galkayo. UN Deputy Chief harps on conflict resolution and sustainable peace in Nigeria. Welcome to the program. The Tigray security agencies of Somaliland said no rickshaw drivers will be allowed to operate in the evening until further notice, after one of the rickshaw drivers was connected to a hit-and-run accident that left a male pedestrian dead.
The
Tigray police officers have formally announced a short-term ban on rickshaw drivers from operating in the evening across the region. The regional security officers exclusively told to CBA that they have launched a security operation in Tigray in the past hours to apprehend rickshaws. Muhammad Farah Noor, the regional police chief, expounding what motivated them to make this sudden decision, said that one of the rickshaw drivers was connected to a hit-and-run accident that left a male pedestrian dead, who is still in the mortuary.
According to our preliminary investigation reports, a rickshaw with a red color was connected to a hit-and-run accident that left a male pedestrian dead, who is now in a mortuary. We decided all rickshaws with red color to be our prime target to apprehend the suspects who killed the male pedestrian.
The regional police officers announced that all rickshaws will not be allowed to operate in the evening until further notice. This restriction is going to be the most difficult order for rickshaw drivers in the region to face. Around 50 youth were arrested in Poroma, Somaliland after displaying the flag of Somalia during commemoration on 61st anniversary of independence. This is not the first time Somaliland police arrested youth involved in such cases. Last year, Somaliland security forces arrested a youth wearing a Somalia flag sports outfit in Hargeisa. Somaliland police confirmed arresting 50 youth in Poroma city for displaying the flag of Somalia. Some of them were dressed in attire made of the Somalia flag. Reports say the youth were recording videos of themselves on the outskirts of the city and intended to circulate on social media before the police arrived at the scene and arrested most of them. Somaliland police said in a statement that these youth were imprisoned in different prisons across the country and will appear before the court imminently. The police added they have launched an investigation to apprehend people they accused of organizing these youth. Videos widely circulated on social media reveal police officers chasing and arresting female youth wearing an attire made of Somalia flag on the outskirts of the western city of Somaliland, Poroma. The regional authorities said Somaliland youth have a right to exercise the freedom of speech and expression, but security forces won't tolerate acts against Somaliland's sovereignty, which may defy the general public. This came at a time Somaliland celebrated its 61st anniversary of independence from Great Britain. Somalia's flag with a light blue color and white star in the middle had previously resulted in more other youth being in custody in Somaliland. The government of Ethiopia has declared a ceasefire in its war town Tigray as rebel fighters claim control of the regional capital, Mekelle.
The government of Ethiopia has declared a ceasefire in its war-torn Tigray region as rebel fighters claim control of the regional capital, Mekelle. The ceasefire was called on humanitarian grounds so that desperately needed aid can be delivered to the people most affected by the conflict. The suspension of hostilities could calm a war that has destabilized Africa's most populous country and threatened to do the same in the Horn of Africa. Until now, the Ethiopian government has not confirmed the loss of the city, nearly 8 months after its forces ousted the Tigrayan rebels. After the ceasefire was declared, residents reported scenes of jubilations with thousands of people in the streets waving flags and setting off fireworks. In a statement on Monday, the government of Ethiopia said the ceasefire will enable farmers to till their land, aid groups to operate without any military movement around, and engage with remnants of Tigray's former ruling party who seek peace. Ethiopia said the ceasefire would last until the end of the farming season in Tigray in September. The government ordered all federal and regional authorities to respect the ceasefire. Neither the TPLF nor the TDF immediately responded to the ceasefire announcement. Meanwhile, the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, has accused the Ethiopian government of destroying its satellite equipment in the Tigray region on Monday. UNICEF Executive Director Henrietta Fore said on Twitter that the act violates UN privileges and immunities and the rules of international humanitarian law regarding respect for humanitarian relief objects.
Rebel leaders in Ethiopia's war-torn Tigray have vowed to drive out of what they call it enemies from the region, suggesting fighting will continue despite the federal government ceasefire declaration.
Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed sent troops into Tigray last November to oust the northern region's former ruling party, the Tigray People's Liberation Front (TPLF). He claimed the move came in response to TPLF attacks on federal army camps and vowed that victory will be swift. But almost 8 months on, the operation suffered a serious blow when rebel known as Tigray Defense Forces (TDF) enter the regional capital Mekelle on Monday, prompting celebrations in the streets as federal soldiers and members of the Abiy-appointed interim regional government fled. Abiy's government then announced Monday night it was declaring a unilateral ceasefire, though there was no immediate response from TDF. A statement overnight from Tigray's pre-war government hailed the TDF advances and said Mekelle was fully under its control. Though the TDF did not hold any major cities and towns for months, its leaders have repeatedly boasted that they were regrouping in remote rural areas. Last week, the TDF launched a major offensive that coincided with Ethiopia's highly anticipated national elections, which unfolded in much of the country, though not in Tigray. The result of the polls have yet to be announced, but they are widely expected to deliver Abiy a former mandate. The brutal war in Tigray has been marked by massacres, widespread sexual violence, and other abuses. The United Nations has also warned that the conflict has pushed hundreds of thousands of people to the brink of famine. In announcing its ceasefire, the federal government said it will last until the end of the current farming season and was intended to facilitate agricultural production and aid distribution while allowing rebel fighters to return to a peaceful road. United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres said Monday he had spoken with Abiy, winner of the 2019 Nobel Peace Prize, and was hopeful that an effective cessation of hostilities would take place. He called recent events in Tigray extremely worrisome, saying they demonstrate once again that there is no military solution to the crisis.
Heavy fighting occurred in Wissel area of South Galmudug region between government Darwish forces and Al-Shabaab. The fighting, which lasted for more than 2 hours, began after Al-Shabaab militants launching an attack on a government and Galmudug military base on outskirts of Wissel, sparking a gun battle.
The fighting, which lasted for more than 2 hours, began after Al-Shabaab militants launched an attack on a government and Galmudug military base on the outskirts of Wissel, sparking a gun battle. Al-Shabaab had earlier claimed to have taken control of the Wissel area, but Galmudug military officials said they had repulsed the attack and withdrew from the area. Reports indicate that there are casualties on both sides of the fighting, and residents say tensions remain high in the region. The latest reports indicate that the 21st Division government forces and the Galmudug Darwish forces are currently conducting various operations on the outskirts of Wissel area, searching for Al-Shabaab members.
The Prime Minister has visited some of the wounded soldiers of the Whistle conflict. The Prime Minister wished them quick recovery and urged the public to unite against their enemies. But we will be back after the short break.
Hello out there. Tune in to CBA TV, the voice of East Africa and beyond. There's so many people around the world who are watching along with you.
Welcome again to the program. The Prime Minister has visited some of the wounded soldiers of the Whistle conflict. He wished them quick recovery and urged the public to unite against their enemies. Somalia Prime Minister Mohamed Hussein Roble and the Galmudug State leader Ahmed Kariya Qorqor have visited soldiers wounded in the Al-Shabaab attack in Whistle town of Mudug region. The Prime Minister heard the doctors' report on the injuries, wished them a speedy recovery and thanked them for their bravery in repelling the Al-Shabaab group. He also said the attack was intended to destabilize the nation. Mohamed Hussein Roble accentuated his government has zero tolerance for such attacks to continue in Somalia, and they will redouble their efforts to mitigate future attacks as well as to remove Al-Shabaab from the remaining areas. At least 30 people have been confirmed dead on Sunday when Al-Shabaab launched an attack at a military base in Whistle town in Galmudug State. The United Nations has said a fierce fighting between Somalia forces and Al-Shabaab fighters in Somalia's central region displaced thousands of people. Whistle is a small town located northwest of the port town of Hobyo, which is approximately 857 kilometers from Mogadishu. Somalia military forces have been deployed in Whistle town of Mudug region days after Al-Shabaab fighters attacked a Somali military base. The army forces also extended humanitarian support to the displaced people in the region. The federal government of Somalia firmly deployed military officers in Whistle town of Mudug region. Residents said the Somalia army forces with armored vehicles launched operations immediately after their arrival in the region. The commander of the military operation said their target is to remove Al-Shabaab fighters who attacked a Somali military base on Sunday from the area. He pledged the military operations will continue until they defeat Al-Shabaab fighters. The Somalia military officials emphasized strengthening security matters in Whistle town during and after their military operations and wanting to prevent future attacks planned by the group. They asked residents to support their national troops for accomplishing this military operation successfully. Somalia Prime Minister Mohamed Hussein Roble and Galmudug State leader Ahmed Kariya Qorqor have visited soldiers wounded in the Al-Shabaab attack in Whistle town of Mudug region. The Prime Minister said the attack was intended to destabilize the nation and accentuated his government has zero tolerance for such attacks to continue in Somalia, and they will redouble their efforts to mitigate future attacks as well as remove Al-Shabaab from their remaining areas. At least 30 people died on Sunday when Al-Shabaab launched an attack at a military base in Whistle town in Galmudug State. Officials at the Puntland military court said the initial number of people sentenced to death was 17. However, the court returned to the case of one the other accused, bringing the total of this week's killings to 18.
The men were sentenced to death 2 weeks ago by the military court, and the chairman of the Puntland Supreme Court of the Armed Forces, General Mahmoud Abdi Mohammed, said the court's decision was fair. Now, 2 men were shot dead and another was shot in Garowe Karkar region by Al-Shabaab militants. Puntland's firing squad has in the past carried out several executions on people they found out to be members of Al-Shabaab. Today's capital punishment is Puntland's highest number of executions so far.
The United Nations Deputy Secretary General Ms. Amina Mohammed underscores the need to resolve conflicts and promote sustainable peace in Nigeria.
Mohammed, who is also the chairperson of the UN Sustainable Development Group, said this at a public lecture titled "The Use of Ceasefire Agreements in Avoiding Escalation of Armed Conflicts" in Abuja. The lecture was the second in a series organized by the Law Faculty of Bayes University.
On many occasions, the UN Security Council has issued ceasefire directives which have helped us to prevent major hostilities. Efforts to seek a sustainable ceasefire agreement or humanitarian pause in an intense conflict can face several challenges, especially during the early stages of fighting when things are incredibly complex. These challenges can range from differing objectives and motivations of the conflict parties and changing conflict dynamics to the direct or indirect influences of regional and international actors. That's when it becomes really quite complex. What starts in a local environment and then suddenly infuse our international interests becomes probably some of the most protracted conflicts that we've had in history.
Professor Maman Tahir, Vice-Chancellor of Bayes University, also spoke about the lecture.
I am here to simply say thank you, welcome and thank you for finding time to grace or to be at this event. But before I complete my appreciation, I want to thank the Dean and the Faculty of Law for putting together this event under the auspices of the guest Faculty of Law series. It's the kind of thing that we want to see in the university. It is the kind of thing which makes the universities different from other places, where you have a platform, a forum for sharing of ideas with the high and the mighty. So we are very happy that this one is coming up this afternoon.
Minister of Transportation, Mr. Rotimi Amechi, commended the lecture as a pathway for Nigeria to grow economically through humanitarian approach.
The president has no choice but to protect, but that's the oath of office is what to protect lives, properties. That's the first principle, and I'm sure he is.
The Somalia security official said an estimated 30 people died on Sunday when Somalia's Al-Shabaab group launched an attack in a town in the country's semi-autonomous state of Galmudug.
Al-Shabaab used car bombs in the assault on a military base in Galmudug's Whistle town, located in central Somalia, triggering a fight with government troops and armed locals. Major Muhammad Awal, a military officer in Galmudug, told journalists. They attacked the base with 2 car bombs and fierce fighting that lasted over an hour followed. He said, the Al-Qaeda-allied Al-Shabaab has been fighting in Somalia for more than a decade to try to topple the country's central government. The Somalia government condemned the attack and said 41 Al-Shabaab fighters had been killed in the fighting as both the military and armed residents pursued the assailant, according to a statement posted on the website of the Somalia State News Agency. Al-Shabaab, on the other hand, claimed responsibility for the attack, saying its fighters killed 30 soldiers and injured over 40 others.
And with that story of the Somali security official, estimated 30 people died on Sunday when Somalia's Al-Shabaab group launched an attack in a town in the country's semi-autonomous state of Galmudug. We'll wrap up our program for this time. Thank you very much for being with us. This is me, Hamse Daabjeerin.